I'm Alan Hall, president of WeatherGuard Lightning Tech, and today's special guest is Stefann Perrigot, director at PES Wind. And PES Wind is a website that provides news and information about the wind energy industry. It is part of the Power and Energy Solutions Network, which also includes websites dedicated to solar energy, energy storage, and other renewable energy technologies. PES Wind's website features articles about new wind projects, technology developments, and industry trends. In addition to its website, PES Wind also publishes a quarterly magazine, which is beautiful. The magazine features in-depth articles about wind energy topics, as well as interviews with industry experts. If you're not familiar with PES Wind, you should be. So, Stefann, welcome to the program.
Appreciate being here. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has, actually.
And I've been asked a few times by a number of my clients on the, especially at the recent Global Offshore Wind on the floor itself, to say, when are you getting on? So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it at the show itself, but here I am now, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Just a couple of touch points here when we get started. I think when you read PES Wind, you realize, wow, this magazine is brilliant. Right? There's a lot of good information in every magazine. Plus, it has beautiful photos. The magazine itself looks exquisite. How long have you guys been at this, making this magazine?
Yeah, so a bit about us. We've been going sort of nearly 20 years now, but it used to be a renewable energy publication, and then we soon realized that we needed to essentially split it into a pure wind publication and a pure solar publication. So we did that, and then ever since then, it's just sort of grown in terms of the content, the quality, and we're refining it all the time. So it's just been getting better and better, and the sort of type of companies we work with, and the type of interviews and people that we're working with is getting stronger, which is increasing the value of the content. So for that, we're really, really pleased.
Yeah, your magazine does not include press releases, which I think is very fascinating, because a lot of information you get in regards to wind energy are just press releases.
I mean, that's for us a conscious decision. We're happy to put press releases on our website. We just believe a press release is for that, for going online, for immediate release, to be read and digested, whether that's on an email campaign or just on, online. But for us, the print version, it has to be exclusive to us. So we're trying to keep the editorial integrity extremely high. It can't be seen anywhere else before it's seen within our publication. Obviously, after that, people can read it, share it on LinkedIn or, via any other platform they want. But until it's gone out with us, then, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, and the thing about PES Wind is that it's written by industry experts. All the articles are from people in the industry who are very knowledgeable about the subject of which they're writing about.
Absolutely. You're one of them.
I am one of them, actually, just full disclosure. I've written a couple of articles, and I have been through the editorial process that PES Wind puts everybody through. The quality of content is only there because of the editing that happens behind the scenes, which no one sees except for the people writing the articles. It's a tremendous amount of work that goes in. The standards are extremely high. It's like writing a college-level paper, because your editing staff is magnificent, by the way. So
for us, that's what we pride ourselves on. We not only feel we have the best looking publication in the market. We know we spend a lot of money on the look and the feel of the publication, but that is none of that really matters until you actually get into the content, and the content is key. We really pride ourselves on editorial integrity. Again, like we said about press releases, it's not just a case of putting anything you want in there. You have to, submit the editorial, for instance, but then it does go through an editorial process, and sometimes editorials can be rejected or sent back with some pointers. Something we do quite strongly is to point out where things can be improved or suggestions on topics. And especially for us, we know what works through our vehicles. So we know what works well for PES. We know what works in the print magazine. We know what works well on LinkedIn, for instance, in terms of traction. So we're trying to just do a combination of keeping it very, very slick, very strong. And most importantly, we want people to want to read it. That's what it's all about.
I want to read every time I get it. First of all, it comes from the Royal Mail, so I always have special mail coming in. So I know it's something special. And then when you open it, like, wow, this looks great. It's always a little surprise to see it and to thumb through it immediately to see all the content that's in it. There's a lot of deep content. This is not shallow stuff. If you're interested in wind energy, this is a magazine to read because it explains what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. And that is eye-opening because otherwise you wouldn't understand some of the reasoning and rationale for what is happening in the industry.
We're trying to keep things as fresh and as topical and as up-to-date as possible. So, people ask us about an editorial calendar, and we just say we don't have a strict editorial calendar purely because we don't know what's going to be happening in the market in a month's time, let alone 6 months. So we try to be reactive to the market. We try to see what's going on. So a lot of the independent articles can be from associations or projects that are taking place, but right up to date. And that also goes on to the clients that we're working with. Their projects are probably just right up to date. So the technology or if it's on a product, we can say what's happening right now. And then that keeps it interesting for the reader.
Oh, it really does. And how many eyeballs, how many people are reading this every quarter?
For the print version, we've got 26,000 copies. We have currently, I've just on LinkedIn. So we do a combination. So obviously we've got the print publication, which we send out. We then send out a full digital version of the publication, and our e-circulation is just over 35,000. So the print magazine would go out, then the digital magazine goes out. And currently, just literally today, on our LinkedIn, PES Wind LinkedIn page, it's got 2 million post impressions in the last 30 days. So,
wow.
We're really proud of that, especially because we only started the PES Wind page around 5 months ago now. And that was a conversation with yourself, and I'd spoken to a few others who were asking me, how come you don't have it? And the reason for that at the time, and it's still true to this day, is because I like to share the articles myself. It gets a more personal approach to sharing the articles, and the people that have the exclusive articles within the publication see the benefit of that, because the amount of views and the amount of likes and the comments are far greater through myself, as opposed to sharing on the PES page. But the PES Win page is there also for content, videos, and also sharing the full publication, which the last full publication that we shared as a PDF on that page has now over 70,000 views. So we're really pleased with that.
So there obviously is a huge demand for wind knowledge and wind insight. Yeah, that speaks to that.
It's not just us. There are plenty of other companies out there. Yourselves doing a podcast, which I think is fantastic. I wanted to use the slogan that we want to be, the voice of wind energy, but I think you've probably taken that by now. So I'll let you have that. But but that's what we really do want to be, the voice of wind energy and what's going on right now. And we want to share it with people on your listeners, but also people on LinkedIn, where people are, hanging about now for work and looking for the right type of information. And that can only add value to us as a company, but more importantly, to the people that we're working with.
And you see things before the rest of the industry does, because they have to submit articles to you before things go out to the rest of the world. What are some of the more intriguing things we should be looking forward to over the next couple of months?
Blade maintenance and blade integrity seems to be really key and topical right now. And obviously, the use of robots, the use of technology is really speeding up. And more than 5 years ago, it was drones were sort of the new thing. Now that's sort of been surpassed by you've got companies like Blade Bug that well, with using their robots, Aerones, with their type of robots. But something we featured in the last magazine, which I think will be big, is the VR, virtual reality. With the headsets for safety. We worked with a company called Synergy XR. They're a Danish company. But when I go to the shows and the events now, everybody's got the headsets on. So from just demonstrations of their own products, but for me, the safety aspect is where I see the sort of the big push, because people can rather than going offshore to learn, they can do it virtually, and all the safety aspects are sort of taken away. You can learn before going out and actually, harming yourself.
Well, and I think, we discussed earlier going to shows, and there's a lot of shows in different parts of the world. You really focus on 4. And I thought that was really fascinating because I've been to probably half of the shows you mentioned, and it's a totally different vibe. There are some shows that have a lot of people and there's just a buzz in the hallways. And there are other shows that are interesting and they're just glad to see everybody, but they're just not the same. Which shows are PES Wind really invested in right now?
So for us, because like I said, we only produce the 4 publications per year. So for the end of this year, we've got our September issue, which we're putting together right now, and that's ahead of the Husum Wind Energy event in Germany. And then our last issue is in November, ahead of the offshore energy event in Amsterdam, which has a big offshore wind focus as well. But yeah, so generally they're ahead of, next year it will be March, ahead of the Wind Europe event in Bilbao. But we've also teamed up with the IPF in New Orleans. So that's going to be our first issue. And then June is always ahead of the Global Offshore Wind, which is in the UK. And then September next year, which is our big one, which is ahead of Wind Energy Hamburg. And then again, November ahead of offshore energy. But next year, the Wind Energy Hamburg one is, for us, well, I would say for the industry, not only the biggest show to be at, but everybody will be there, has the biggest buzz, and it's great. And for us, we're already making bookings for that issue now. So, it's fortunate. It's good for us to sort of already look that far ahead. And I'm contacting clients already just to say, look, I know it's early, but these are the dates. And because we 30 sort of around 30 to 35 companies tops, we sort of call it that's enough. So it's not hard for us to fill the space.
That is amazing. I guess that all makes sense. And if you're going to those shows, for sure, I think those are the shows to really show up to. And yeah, one thing about PES Wind magazine, when we were in Copenhagen for the conference in Copenhagen, there are a lot of copies of PES Wind in the hallways and at the booths because everybody wants to, they want to see it, right? They want to see it. They want to see what's in it. They're talking about what's in it. It becomes part of that show conference news piece that everybody wants to be a part of, right? And yeah, if you're a company that wants to get some eyeballs on your products, where else are you going to go besides PES Wind? I think it makes total sense because you do a good job of being at the shows and promoting the magazine too. You guys are hustling out there.
Yeah, and I think for us at that point, it's our sort of the hard work's done, and it's almost our time to sort of go out, meet the clients, meet potential new clients. But we're quite happy then because the magazine's done, the magazine's at the show, and it's time for us to promote it. We want people to see it, we want people to be engaged, we want people to read it, and ultimately we like the feedback. Was it a good issue? Are there things we can do better? And I've spoken in the past to many times. We're experts, or we're pretty good at what we do, but we don't say we know everything. And we're happy to listen to ideas, listen to feedback. Could you do this? Can you try this? And even down to promote different things on LinkedIn, different ideas. We're open to ideas and just to see what can we do next. What can we help help our clients do.
Yeah, and the LinkedIn piece is really fascinating to me. We are on LinkedIn as a company, and I think a lot of companies in wind are there. That is a real community that maybe 5 years ago did not really exist at this level. It's really grown substantially.
Yeah, and it has, and I'm always amazed how some companies still haven't embraced it enough. I mean, I've had companies where I've shared their article, and they haven't, say, reshared it or commented on it, or and I sort of think you're missing a trick because it's you've done for the client, they've done all the hard work already, they've invested in it, time, money, effort, and they've got that piece now, and that's what I say to our clients, just to say, here it is, share it. I will share it on LinkedIn, but feel free to to share it and spread it and get that message out there because that's key. That's what they've invested in us for, and now you've got that piece and. Let it out, I say.
Right. Let people see it. I agree with you there. that is a little odd. I know we've seen the same thing from some other companies, and I always wonder, like, why you have a great product, you just make more noise, and if you're in PES Wind, you're making a tremendous amount of noise. Then amplify it, right? Use LinkedIn to amplify it.
Because of the amount of time and effort, like we say, and the quality of the publication, we're now finding more and more companies want to be associated with the brand as well. So it's kind of, if we're associated with that, it means we're also of that level, and it just means, we're in that PS magazine. There's that nice link between quality and quality, and that's what we try to say to people, and that's from startup companies all the way up to companies, with 100,000 employees. There is no difference in the process with us. We treat every single company with the exact same approach. Whether a one-man band or 100,000 in their company, it doesn't make a difference. We will give everyone the same amount of time, the same amount of expertise. We want to do a great job for each client, because again, if we do a good job, they're happy. They'll come back to us eventually, whether it's straight away or again, and also they'll tell people. And so that's what we strive to do.
Exactly. And what is the process if I'm a company and I want to have an editorial or an article about my whiz bang product, and I need to get the information out to the world? How does that process start? Like, can you just walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally, it's companies I've approached, and sometimes I've had a company today email just say, I've actually picked up the PES Wind magazine at the Global Offshore Wind event, and how do I get in? What do I need to do? So it's a case of, so they'll come to us direct, or we'll approach companies if there's certain topics we really want to cover, and then it's just a case of saying, okay, what type of package do you want? We try to offer everybody what we would call our premium sponsorship package, which is obviously inclusion in the print magazine, the editorial in print, online, so on the digital magazine, as well as all the LinkedIn promotion, and it just gives an overall feel for what we do to generate the best results for them as a client, because it's like I say, essentially we want to do a good job. We want people to recognize it, to read it, to give them feedback, because then again they'll come back to us. And we talk about LinkedIn. I've spoken to you about your own article. We post it twice, and I said to you the first time I posted it had over 10,000 views. And I posted it again last week or this week, and it's now over 14,000 on the second time. So that's just me. And I noticed, because I took note, it got reposted 10 times this time and 10 times last time. So when you think it's 24,000 views, just me, but all of those people reposting it, it's just it's generating even more. And that's like you understand when I was saying about LinkedIn and reposting and just getting it out there, that's good for you, it's good for us, and that's what we're trying to do.
Oh yeah, it's good for everybody. And if I think one of the maybe little scary parts, if you go down the PES Wind pathway, is that you have to write an article, right? You have to spend a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days writing a piece, and that's the scary part for most people, right? But when you get to the editorial staff on PES Wind, they're super helpful. Like you know what works and what doesn't work, and how to phrase things, and what the approach is. You walk people through that process, so it's not overwhelming. No,
and we're here to we can do as little or some companies will supply us with a fantastic article that's very well written, doesn't need much editing, and it's thought provoking. And it still goes through the process of going through the editorial board in terms of, is it quality? Does it meet our standards? Will it be good for them? Give the value, give the publication value. And then other companies say to us, okay, look, pretty much we don't really know what to do. What's the approach? And then we can lead them all the way through it. With our editors can write a piece for them, or we can give them guidance. And we can obviously do interviews as well, which work very, very well.
The interviews are fantastic.
I personally I would always say to a company, work with us in 2 issues in the year, and then always have an interview and then separately an article. The interviews work very, very good because they generally put a face to the name of the company. And it's quite nice for people to, like yourself, if you're at an event, everybody knows you. So it's okay. Oh, there's Alan. He's in PES, and it's just a nice approach. Or like I said, I had an email today from Covestro, the material company. So they were asking us about getting involved in the September issue. What are your thoughts? And they gave me what they thought would be their thoughts on an article, and I said, look, I think that would be perfect. But again, if you can make it controversial, if you can make it thought-provoking, if you can, it's about generating debate or generating some sort of talk. So some companies might say, well, I don't like that. Well, I don't think that's the right approach. Okay, well, tell me why, and then it's good for you, good for them.
Yeah, I do think there needs to be some pushback in wind and some new ideas in the wind industry. We're seeing obviously some problems that are large-scale problems that are happening, and one way to get over those problems is to be a little bit thought-provoking and say, hey, maybe there's a different way to go about solving some of these problems. And I think PES Wind does a really good job of that, of making you think a little bit like, oh, I never thought about this as a way to, I'll give you the Identiflight, right? So Identiflight detects birds in a very unique way, and it slows down wind turbines that are in the bird's path. Not all the wind turbines, just the ones in the pathway. Like, oh, that's a really unique way of trying to solve that problem.
Crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's insane. Rosemary Barnes, our co-host on the Uptime podcast, walked us through how well that system works. So I read about it in PES Wind. I learned a lot about it. And then I talked to Rosemary as my sort of backup. She goes, oh, yeah, that system is magnificent in terms of keeping power losses to a minimum and saving a whole bunch of birds. I would never have known that without PES Wind.
And again, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get there will be companies that haven't heard of or hadn't heard of their technology. And again, other companies, you might just know the brand, so you don't really know what they're doing. And again, in the publication, we're really trying to educate the market, so educate them on what, not only the technology, but the uses, the needs, and identifying a problem, but here's the solution to go with it. So again, it works very, very well.
So how long does it usually take for an article once it gets into you? So I write an article. I'm sitting here in Massachusetts. I'm writing this controversial article about lightning protection of wind turbine blades. I send it over to the UK. And then how long does that process take? Just walk everybody through how long it takes to get it back and get it released.
Generally, it can be a week to 2 weeks, because we want to obviously get a chance to there's because it goes through a few processes in terms of not just one editor will have a look at it. There will be an editor that will look at it from technical standpoint. There'll be an editor just in terms of the actual language, because obviously we're dealing with a lot of foreign companies as well. So we've got specialists that can deal with the language side of things and then technical side of things. So it goes through a few processes, and then obviously we would get it designed, and then sent back to the client as if it would look in the magazine. And then again, they still have time to say, like it, or can we change this and move that? So it's very flexible, and ultimately we're wanting to get the best for the client within the publication, as long as it falls within our guidelines.
Yeah, so it really is a somewhat quick process. It isn't like you submit it, and then 2 months later you get an email like, yes, it's been accepted. It's not like a research paper, if everybody's familiar with research papers.
The reason we did only do 4 per year is just to give the clients enough time in between each issue to actually spend the time to write it. We're not saying it's January, so you've got a couple of weeks because then the February issue is coming out, then the March issue. We want people to take their time. We want people to really think about what they're writing and think about how they're going to approach the reader. It's not just about saying, hey, we're this company and we've got the best at this. It's about, okay, what am I trying to get across? And something we speak about is the tone. So we want the tone of the company to come through, but through our vehicle.
You can read into who they are as a company, and I think that makes life a little bit easier. I've worked with many of the companies that show up in PES Wind, and I know the flavor of the company before I even really engage with them, because I've read about them. Yeah. It's magnificent. Well, Stefann, it's been really good having you on the podcast. Stefann, how do companies reach out to you? How do they connect with you?
Send me an email. That's the best way. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have so many companies reaching out to me on LinkedIn now. And that's the best way. Yeah.
And if you're interested in reading PES Wind, just go on the web.
Absolutely. www.peswind.com. Take a look. Have a look at the digital versions, and if you want a print copy, send me an email.
Sounds great. All right, Stefann, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.